Good afternoon and welcome to the Industrial Placements Exhibition. I'm Talia Porat. I'm a lecturer in design engineering and the academic lead for the Industrial Placements. I would like to welcome you all. So first of all, our four-year students who are celebrating their return from their placements. A very, very warm welcome to our industry partners. Year 3 who are looking for placements for next year. And this year, we also have year 2 who just came to see what's all this placements is all about. And of course, the design engineering staff who supported the students throughout their placements. So thank you all for coming. This year, we had 55 students who went to placements in a variety of companies and domain, and you will soon hear their experiences. They did their placements in the UK, Ireland, Spain, Netherlands, Germany, Singapore, Thailand, and Canada. I would really like to use this opportunity to deeply thank the companies that took placement students this year. Because 2 weeks before the students had to start their placement, the pandemic started, and we really didn't know what will happen and if the students would be able to complete the placement scheme. However, the companies really fast adjusted to the situation and showed flexibility and took on the students working online and really finding creative solutions. So thank you very, very much for this. The students as well, they were very proactive. If their placement was delayed or cancelled, they found alternative places. Some even volunteered for COVID initiatives and showed resilience and flexibility. So at the Design Engineering School, we preach for creativity, innovation, and tell our students all the time to feel comfortable with uncertainty and embrace chaos. And actually, this pandemic was a huge test for all of us to see if we can really embrace chaos. And I think the collaboration between students, companies, and staff enabled us to be here today to celebrate the industrial placement's success. So with this note, I'm very happy to invite Professor Peter Chung, the head of the Dyson School of Design Engineering, to formally open the exhibition. Peter.
Hello. Hello, thank you, Talia. And I'm Peter Chung. I'm a professor at Imperial College, and currently I'm head of school. And I have to say, I'm very proud of this year's student who, in spite of all the challenges that COVID put in front of us, they managed to complete their placement. And I'm very thankful for all of our industrial sponsor who has taken on one or more of our students and see them through in these difficult times. Dyson School of Design Engineering is the newest department in the Faculty of Engineering at Imperial, and all the student knows that we are the pioneer. We are exploring new way of teaching our students. Of course, there are many areas that we still need to improve, but one of the proudest things that we have done is to integrate this industrial placement as part of our educational offering. Now, it hasn't been easy because Talia and many others try to assist, and students work very hard to get the placement. And I'm very pleased to see that all the fourth-year students who've managed to go for placement are back, and although virtually, and we'll have a very good chance of listening to what they've done. And there are some presentation given and etc. Now to the current fourth-year student, and thank you for working so hard you have been very patient with many of us in this very difficult time. I hope there are lots of third-year students here because you are going to face this challenge this coming year. And for those people who are our sponsors who took on our placement student in the past, I hope you will continue to consider our student and be partner to our school and our university. And from what I've seen, the number of placement students I've spoken to, I hope all our sponsors will not be disappointed. It is a very difficult time for everybody. There are increasing number of infections, and we are having to adopt various measures, changing from week to week. At the moment, Imperial College is open for business and practice multi-mode teaching. And we are trying our best to adapt our provision so that our students will have the best education that they can have in spite of all the constraints that we have to live under. Now, I still remember, Talia, last year exhibition, industrial placement exhibition, and the social event in the Dyson building itself. It was really enjoyable. This year, thanks to many people's effort, especially Melissa's effort, we are doing this virtually online, and we can't actually celebrate like we used to, but I hope in spite of all these restrictions, you will still find this showcase, industrial placement showcase, to be interesting and beneficial. And may I also invite all the fourth-year students who's gone on placement, please help us to advise and assist the current third-year student who are going to go through this experience of looking for a placement and then getting the placement and actually executing it in this very difficult year. Well, with that note, I want to pass it back to Melissa, or who is it? I don't know who is in charge now, who is chairing this. Talia, I'll pass it back to Talia.
Okay, thank you, Peter. Thank you very much. So now we will have a few short presentations from students sharing their placement experience. First is Marcus Melkonian, who did his placement in two places. The first is the audio experience design at Imperial and at Siemens in Innovation Think Tank in Germany. Marcus.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. As Talia said, I'm Marcus Melkonian. I'm a fourth-year design engineer at the Dyson School of Design Engineering, and I'll be presenting to you today a quick overview of my industrial placement experience, carried out both here in the UK, but also abroad in Germany in a city called Erlangen. So that being said, I think we'll start with the presentation. So firstly, a quick background on myself. As I said, I'm Marcus, I'm 22, and I was born and raised in Southwest London. I attended KCS Wimbledon from 2011 to 2016. I then took a year out before starting at the Dyson School in 2017, where I built a real passion for disruption and innovation in the tech sector. Now, in regard to my course placement, as mentioned, I completed two placements due to the global situation. The first, an 8-week research position as part of the audio experience design team at the Dyson School, headed by Dr. Lorenzo Piccinelli, and the second, a 12-week fellowship position as part of Siemens Healthineers Innovation Think Tank, based in Erlangen in Germany and run by Professor Sultan Haider. So starting with my first placement with the audio experience design team, they are a research team at the Dyson School, as mentioned, headed by Dr. Piccinelli, with active areas of research in spatial hearing, wearable embedded interactive audio systems, and audiology. My main output from this placement was designing and engineering the virtual reality application called Kokoro, which acts as a platform for both training and assessment of key auditory aspects for teenage bilateral cochlear implant users. The application is grounded in areas of motivational behavioral science and integrates auditory aspects, including sound localization, speech perception and masking, and auditory proprioception. The VR application was built using Unity, C#, and the HTC Vive, and the 3 levels to the application can be seen on screen. I'll now move on to my second placement with Innovation Think Tank. So Innovation Think Tank is part of the Chief Technology Office of Siemens Healthineers, with some of their key goals including accelerating the identification and implementation of new business opportunities, both within Siemens Healthineers and for their external partners, as well as expanding the global innovation infrastructure. I myself operated within the mechatronics product division of Innovation Think Tank. Now, in regard to projects, ITT is very unique in the vast array of involvement you have across project fields. For me, I contributed to around 16 projects during my 12 weeks. My primary individual project was based around 5G innovation with radiology devices, where a research manuscript was also written during this project and is now in the submission phase for journal publication. In regard to group projects, areas of work included mammography biopsy, patient experience, biometric sensors, advanced therapies, medical imaging, and COVID-19. I was also able to assist in the running of multiple workshops during this period, which was great experience. I also have a few images to share here with my travels across Germany. This includes the city of Erlangen, where I was based, in the top left, as well as trips to Bayreuth that you can see in the bottom left, as well as Nuremberg, and a hike from Pegnitz to the cliffside town of Pottenstein with the Innovation Think Tank MP team. So I'll end by answering the question which a few people have asked me, and this is, should you do your placement abroad? The short answer to this is yes, but only if the right opportunity for you presents itself, as the most important factor for your placement is that the work and skills learned are relevant to your passions and future career development. But if the right opportunity is there, I would highly recommend it, as the skills you learn abroad are extremely invaluable. That being said, any further questions you might have, or if you'd just like to have a chat, please feel free to drop me a line at my email, which is on screen now, or via any other social platform. I want to wish all the third years the best of luck with their applications, and thanks for listening, everyone.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much, Marcus. Well, looks really exciting, and happy to know not everybody was in the room all the time. So
Yeah.
it seemed you had a good time. Great, thank you. Now I would like to invite Ben Collis, who did his placement in Hydrocotton and MCOPA. Sorry, hi Ben.
Thanks, Talia. That was a really impressive thing there, Marcus. It's going to be quite difficult to follow, but I'll give it a shot. So, hi, I'm Ben. I'm a DE4, and I'm going to tell you about my 2 3-month internships over this summer. I worked at both a teeny tiny startup with only 4 employees to a large corporation with over 1,000 employees. So I'll just start with the presentation now, if you could put it up now. So I'll start with Hydrocotton here. So Hydrocotton is a small startup founded by IDE students, and they grow radically sustainable and transparent cotton for the fashion industry. So when I saw this, I thought, wow, this is a really interesting area, and I could be quite passionate about this. I did 2 big projects, and the first project, as you can see here, was creating low-cost alternatives to picking cotton. This involved 3D printing, woodworking, welding, and other fun fabrication techniques, as well as the entire design process from defining the problem area and user research to sketching and ideation. I also created a machine vision app that detects cotton plant disease just by taking a picture of the leaf with a smartphone. On the left there, you can see my looks like prototype created on Adobe XD. And on the right, you can see my works like prototype that I made using Google AutoML and Android Studio. That is a proof of concept to distinguish between 2 cotton plant breeds just by looking at the leaf. And that's a working Android app that I handed over to them, and they are showing to investors to show off their machine vision capabilities. It had a 98% accuracy rate. My second placement was with MCOPA Solar. So this was my original placement where I was supposed to work for 6 months, but this got shortened to 3 months because of COVID. And I was actually supposed to go on a really fun user research road trip across Kenya, so I was gutted about that. But I did some good virtual work nonetheless. So MCOPA Solar is a medium to large enterprise, and they upgrade the lives of rural Kenyans through accessible solar technology. I worked on a few projects. For example, this one here, I made a clickable app UI for a new product they were releasing to the Kenyan and Ugandan markets for their smartphone. And I assisted with user research, such as this paper-based smartphone competency test that I developed to accurately gauge the digital literacy of rural Kenyans. And this actually got deployed in field in a small town called Eldoret. where I liaise with a contact out there to run this test and other user interviews. I believe they're looking for 2 more design engineers this year, so DE3, contact them. It's going to be quite a lot of competition, I think. So what did I gain from this experience? I think the biggest thing I gained was I learned the difference between a university project and a commercial one. The responsibility of having a real project with real money and deadlines makes you grow up fast, and you become a more mature design engineer over this 6-month period. And my advice to DE3 would be to have a long, hard think about what you want to focus your career on, because they say, you know, your first job is career defining. And so I knew very early on that I wanted to work in sustainability, and I made sure to pick 2 very sustainability heavy placements because of it. So also, please contact me on Facebook if you have any questions, or drop me a line on my email. I'll be happy to chat. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Ben, very much. And I think there are many students in D3 that are very interested in sustainability, so I'm sure you'll get a lot of contacts. Thank you very much. Now I would like to invite Bettina Sosa, who did her placement at Unmade.
Hello, everyone. So I did my 6 months at Unmade. So I'm gonna talk you through a little bit about my life as an implementation intern. So first of all, you might be asking, what is Unmade and what do they do? Unmade is a software fashion company and a sustainable alternative to the present fashion industry. And you may ask, how? Well, they have reimagined both the design and manufacturing processes within the industry, producing their own software, Unmade OS. This is a customization tool that caters to larger companies, fashion sportswear companies, allowing them to create personalized on-demand products. Now, what was my story within Unmade? Unmade was very welcoming despite the whole situation with COVID. And although I thought I was going to work in the office, it never really happened. But having cross-functional teams, I had a great opportunity to work with different people and learn from different areas of expertise. It also made me reflect on my preconceptions of placement. Like I really wanted to learn hard skills, things that I would use in Decent, but it made me realize how I developed my team member skills. Unmade has a great work environment, and that is essentially what helped me learn the most. They were so open to questions, to hearing my opinion. They gave me the freedom to explore my own solutions and be the lead on my own projects. In terms of hard skills or hands-on work, I won't go into a lot of detail because it's a bit complex, but my role was what they call product setup. This process takes what the client's brief is to the actual outcome on the e-commerce site. If you want to see an example of this, you can go to Rafa Custom and have a play out with the editor. What I can say about the process is that it involved learning a software architecture to advance through my role, because my role spanned from using Photoshop or Illustrator, but also like using them efficiently through scripting, but also doing 3D meshes of the garment so that you can overlay patterns on them to create the final output. Within an evolving software, I also had the chance to be able to explore the pain points and actually present ideas and projects to improve certain areas. In these projects, I had the chance to learn more about computer vision, SVG file scripting. For instance, one of my projects had to do with genetic algorithm. And using the genetic algorithm, I was able to save 600 square meters of text cell for 1,000 units for one of our clients, which was a great outcome. So this is just to show how with your own toolkit and your own contributions, it can be very beneficial wherever you go and work. You just have to be looking out for the opportunities and having the courage to ask questions and give your own opinion. I think it goes well in hand with the concept of going beyond what is asked. I have to say that what I really value most from my placement were the skills that we don't usually learn in Desench, which are like dealing with clients and accepting that you're part of a team, and that even if in Desench we tend to do all of the tasks or most of the tasks, we have to understand that everyone is a team member. I would also would like to say that you have to take advantage of your tutors and making connections, because I would have never searched for implementation intern as a place. And actually, it was a very, it really matched my my skills and what I was interested in. So really take advantage of your tutors and LinkedIn and ask questions and meet up with people. If you have any question, please contact me.
Thank you very much, Bettina. Great tips here. I'm sure D3 will appreciate it very much. Thank you. And now I would like to invite Luke Hillary, who did his placement at Rayon Labs.
Thanks, Talia. Hi, everyone. Yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit about what it's like to be a junior design developer at Rayon Labs. So I completed my 6-month placement with them. If you don't know about the company already, they're pioneering an industry called energy control, where they're creating the best-in-class solutions in the sports and the protective equipment industries. So things like NFL helmets, mountain biking knee pads. Those are some of the products that are on the market that I can talk about. So over those 6 months, I got to work on a huge number of projects. So I think it was over 23 for at least 13 different clients. Of those, I can probably only talk about 3 of them, but I'll save them for anyone who's interested in the company. So I'm just going to talk a bit about what a design engineer does here and a few tips for applications for those in 3rd year. So the company do computational and data-driven design to create cutting-edge products. They develop 3D printed tooling, which they then use to injection mold their strain-sensitive material and create best-in-class solutions in protective equipment. And then once those parts are made, there's a lot of designing test rigs and testing the parts iteratively and improving them to meet international safety standards and performance increases. In my experience, they far exceed a lot of the safety standards. So if you ever see any product with Rayon branding on, I suggest you pick that one. So as a junior design developer at the labs, I was involved in a lot, everything from computational design to molding parts to sketching concepts for client presentations. I even had the opportunity to lead pitches to creative directors of client companies, which is a level of responsibility that I never expected to get as an intern. But part of the one of the benefits of being part of such a small team is that you get these big opportunities. So yeah, like I said, a lot of different roles that I took on. I think the skills that you're learning in design engineering, especially throughout the 3rd year, really set you up well to be able to get involved in anything, and it makes you a really valuable team member wherever you go. I would definitely recommend looking into the company for placement if you have an interest in computational design and or product design in the sportswear and protective industries. But beyond that, they're growing fast, and I'm sure there's going to be more opportunities there in the future. Advice to 3rd years that are looking for placements now. First thing I'd say, like Bettina said, stalk your lecturers, not in person, preferably, on LinkedIn. A lot of the companies that you'll be applying for, you might not know yet. And this also goes for people in my year and years that have gone before me. We did a lot of research to find the companies that we wanted to go and do our placement at. And I think it's a useful resource that you guys shouldn't pass up. Come and talk to us, come and speak to lecturers, come and speak to tutors. everyone will have people in their network that if you're interested in a specific area, someone will be able to help you. Secondly, I'd say apply early, especially if you're applying to placements on the in-place system. I know a lot of the companies filled up their interview slots very quickly. So if you're going for a competitive one like that, it's definitely good to get in early and get your name down. And thirdly, I would say it's a good idea to treat your placement like it's a module, in that when you go into the placement, have an idea of what you want to learn, what you want to achieve. It's also really useful when starting your placement to have that chat with someone in the company, and they can help tailor your experience towards those areas, and it makes you kind of get the most out of the experience in a short time. But yeah, if anyone has any questions about the company, the sort of projects I worked on, you can find me on LinkedIn or message me on Facebook. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and go check out the Rion Labs website. They've just had a great website update, and all the information you'll need is probably on there. Thanks.
Great. Thank you very much, Luke. I like your last tip to relate to the placements of the model and kind of think what you want to gain out of it. And Rion Labs will also be in the informal chat, so you could chat with Olga and Dan from Rion Labs after the exhibition. So thank you, Luke. Thank you very much. Now I would like to invite Ewan Hay from Creole. Hi, Ewan.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Talia. So today I want to speak to you about my work over the last 6 months, my experience with Creole. So Creole is an IoT lighting control startup, empowering people to reduce their carbon footprints through the use of carbon credits. There's two sides to their business. There's Creole Environments, which is the IoT lighting control side, which basically allows their users to control their lighting, track their energy usage, and then offset their carbon footprint in real time. And the other side is Creole Offsets, which offers individuals and businesses a really cheap and effective way to remove their carbon footprint through the use of these carbon credits. Now, for those of you who don't know, carbon credits are basically just a certificate which allow you to emit 1 ton of CO2 into the atmosphere, and they can basically be generated from green projects like solar or wind or tree planting. And it's a huge industry. It's worth about $215 billion globally. But despite this, there's massive issues with trust and fraud. But that's where Creole comes in. You know, Creole puts their credits onto the blockchain, which makes them unique and completely traceable. So you know exactly where they've come from. And that helps a lot of the issues surrounding fraud in this area. So there's currently 2 full-time employees at Creole. There's Chris, the CEO, and he handles the design and management side. And there's Josh, the CTO, and he oversees all technical matters. So my expertise as a design engineer really helped me bridge the gap between these 2 worlds on a number of occasions and helped me get stuck in on a lot of really exciting projects. So here's a simplified timeline of everything I worked on during my time there. I'm just going to speak to you about 3 major launches we had during this time. So the first was an updated site for Creole Offsets. The old site was very technical and quite challenging for new users to understand. So we redesigned it and relaunched it with a bunch of new features. The next, so I proposed to Chris and Josh that we needed a carbon footprint calculator so our users could understand their impact on the planet and what they could do about it. And that actually gave me almost complete control of this project. So the researching, designing, building, and then testing of this was all up to me. And then upon launch of this, we actually saw the user base of Creole Offsets double. So that was a really nice bit of validation for this project. And then finally was the lighting control app. We actually finished off the Creole Environment side of this and launched it on my final day. So a really perfect way for me to end my placement. So on reflection, this experience helped make me a more experienced and sought after engineer. But more than that, it helped me understand the capabilities of startups and sustainability companies in general. So my advice for the coming 3rd years. The first is just, like Luke said, start early. Not only do you have the COVID situation to deal with, but also, you know, putting it on paper and contextualizing your experiences will really help you understand what kind of positions and placements you're passionate about. And the other piece of advice is just inexperience. You know, I came into this placement with 0 knowledge of IoT or blockchain, but I learned throughout my placement and I built on the foundation that design engineering has given me. So I recommend you'd all do the same in your placements. So I want to wish you the best of luck with your experience, and I want to thank you all for listening to mine. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Well done for launching the app. And Krell will also be in the informal chat after that. So if you're interested, join us. Great. Thank you, Ewan. And now, last but not least, I would like to invite Angela Ibanez, who did her placement at Valhalla in Spain. Hi, Angela.
Hello. Hi, how are you? So, for the past months, I've been working at Valhalla, a strategic design, innovation consultancy, and startup accelerator. So, what is open innovation and what does a strategic consultancy do? Open innovation is connecting organizations to external talent, external solutions, often from startups. And then briefly explained, what our consultancy does is help organizations both grow and innovate. We make very specific, we make very specific tailor-made programs for each client. So to do so, we begin by understanding the client's innovation stage. Then we educate them. We train them with design thinking sessions, and we teach them how to work with external talent. Then we identify their needs, and then we design programs that would answer those needs. These programs can take many forms. So it could be entrepreneurial programs. These are programs that involve innovation inside the company. It could be open innovation program, which is leveraging the startups solutions with the companies. It could be hackathons. So here's where startups get involved, and here is where Valhalla acts as the interlocutor between startups and organizations. Finally, we manage and implement those programs. So what have I been doing as a strategic designer at Valhalla? I was involved in two main projects. First, I designed the new innovation program of our main client. I had to design both the process and the system for them to incorporate external solutions that could bring them competitive value. So for this, I defined the methodology and the process, and then I had to implement the project thereof. So I had to apply the methodology I had just designed. To do so, I identified the client's needs. I found potential startup solutions. Then I designed their integration with the company, and I tested the solutions to see whether they should invest in them or not. For my second project, I independently identified an opportunity area for Valhalla to offer a new service to our clients. I did this through a partnership with a startup. So I had an idea, I presented it to the Valhalla team. They really liked it, they decided to move forward with the project. So I've been leading this project and working on the development of our new product, which will soon be launched. So what can I say about my placement? First, that I have immensely enjoyed it. And I am going to give you 3 pieces of advice that I would have found extremely useful. First, the best outcome of my placement was being able to define a future career path. So Valhalla were really involved in my professional development. They coached me, they involved me in different parts of the design process so that I could define what I liked and what I didn't like. So I would suggest you to look for companies that really invest in your professional development. So consider things like training programs for interns, the size of the company. So for example, Valhalla is quite small, and because it's small, I could really bond with the team and they could really get involved with me. And also take this chance as an opportunity for you to define your career path, since this will be extremely useful for then later on find a job after uni. Second, I would say to be open-minded and talk to people. It would have never occurred to me that this was a possible career path. And it was by meeting by accident or luck or destiny, I don't know, Valhalla CEO that I had to, that I had an informal chat with him where he explained what open innovation was. I explained what my expectations were and so on. He met me and he thought that my profile was well suited for the job. I then learned that they had like 800 applications or something like this for the job, and I didn't go through any like recruitment process. So I would really encourage you to have human contact, to try to have phone calls, interviews, or emails, because it's going to be better for both of you. First, you might discover opportunities that you weren't aware of, and second, it's easier for you to have an impact on them. And finally, thrive to have an impact. Look beyond what is expected from you. Your contributions can really have an impact in the organization. I would have never thought that as an intern, I could bring a new product to a company, and I did. So I really contributed to the company, and you can do the same. And so if you need anything, please contact me. I would be extremely happy to answer any questions, and enjoy your placement, because I'm sure it would be great.
Great. Well, thank you, Angela. Yeah, I think it's really important to be open-minded, right? And kind of be happy and get opportunities, be open to opportunities. Great. Thank you, Angela. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for other presenter. We have a wide variety of projects and experiences. And do remember that all the placements, work, and experiences of the students are displayed on this site. So each placement has a page with the information on the placement and the content information of the students. So do have a look and get in touch. So for this event, we asked companies to send us a short video pitch for students who will go to their placements next year. And thank you very much for sending this. The full version is quite long, and we will share it with students. However, for this event, we did a very short version to show the great variety of interesting companies we're collaborating with in this placement scheme. So I would like now to show a short video of that.
Hi, I'm Chris, the CEO of Elusive Parts.
Hello, I'm Caroline Heinz, a senior consultant at Sophie's Group.
Hi there, my name is Bhavin Radia. I work for Rolls-Royce.
Hello, my name is Piers and I'm the founder of Tube.
Hi, I'm Nihal from P&G.
Hi everyone, my name is Raf and I'm the CEO of Pharma Central.
Alright, hello, I'm Michael Corn. I founded QuickScreen.
Hi, I'm Adam Well, CEO of QuickScreen.
Hello everyone, I'm Marcus Melkonian. I'm here at the global headquarters of Innovation Think Tank based in Erlangen, Germany.
Working at Rolls-Royce is a great opportunity to work at the forefront of power and propulsion system technology.
We're building a unique and interesting way to enable anyone to automate their home.
Land resource development, but also eco-industrial parks, industrial symbioses.
So our mission at QuickScreen is to supersede hospital curtains everywhere.
We are the Netflix of medicine's data.
We are designing cutting-edge technologies to deliver world-class razors.
Producing rare and no longer available classic car parts using modern technology.
Great, hope you enjoyed that. And now I would like to invite Pooja, who will host the panel with me. Hi, Pooja.
Hi, Talia. Thanks. That was a really exciting video and I think a great glimpse into what people can expect from their placements. And as Talia said, if you're intrigued by anything that you saw in that video or heard from the presentations, I definitely recommend you check out the Showcase website where you can read about people's experiences in more detail. So hi, as Talia said, I'm Pooja and I'm a fourth year student here and I'll be hosting the second segment with Talia. So this second part of the placement exhibition event today is a panel discussion, which is just going to be an informal chat between students from the Dyson School and representatives from industry to share their experiences of this year's placement. This is a great opportunity for anyone out there who has questions or wants to share their thoughts to get involved. So please make use of the live chat feature and we'll try to integrate as many of your thoughts into the discussion as possible. So I'll hand it over to Talia to introduce our representatives from industry.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you, Pooja. So I'm really excited because we have interesting guests in the panel and I'm looking forward to hearing their perspective on the placement experience. So I would like to start by inviting our industry panelists. Our first guest is Warren Hutchinson from ELSE London. Warren, hi.
Hello. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Do you want to say 2 words about yourself?
Not really, but I'll introduce myself. Hello, everybody. My name is Warren Hutchinson. I'm the Chief Experience Officer and founder of ELSE. We're an experience design consultancy based in London, and we help businesses accelerate innovation in product and service design. So I was lucky enough to work with Pooja this year. So hi.
Thank you. Our next guest is Katie Young from Coots.
Hi there.
Hello. Do you want to say 2 words about yourself?
Absolutely. So hi, Katie Young. I head up the banking and lending change and tech teams within Coutts & Co. So for those of you who don't know Coutts, it's a private bank. It's actually the 8th oldest bank in the world, and we consider ourselves to be a 328-year-old startup. This year we had the pleasure of 6 students, Josh, Rachel, Hannah, Jing, Mook, and Helen. And the previous year we had 4 students.
Great, thank you very much. Last but not least, I would like to invite David Sharp from Ocado Technology. Hello.
Hello, thank you very much for saying hello. Hi, I'm David Sharp. I used to lecture in computing at Imperial College before escaping into the big wide world. I lead a team of about 25 scientists, engineers, designers, software programmers, electronicists, roboticists at Ocado Technology in a team called the 10X team, which is all about making disruptive changes times better. And this year we've had 2 design engineers and 1 electronics engineer. And we typically have quite a few software engineers from Imperial. And in fact, next year we're going to have a total of around 20 intern students at Ocado Technology over the year. So we're looking to communicate all the great stuff that we do to you guys. So you can come and join us.
Great, great. Thank you. Pooja, would you like now to invite the students panelists?
Yeah, sure. So on the student side, I'd first like to welcome Will, who was working at In-Range Golf. So Will, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thanks, Pooja. Hi, guys. My name's Will. I'm a 4th year student as well now. And I did my placement with an exciting startup really called In-Range Golf that helped develop the future of the driving range. So it's all about smart ball tracking on driving ranges. And we're a growing company with many sites around the world now. And I even had the opportunity to go out to Abu Dhabi on my placement to launch a site out there, which was really exciting. I look forward to chatting with everybody here about the placement and the opportunities that you guys can get involved in.
Thanks, Will, and that sounds great. I'm sure there's a lot of envy in the audience that you managed to get out of the UK for a bit. So next we have Sana, who spent the past 6 months working at Procter & Gamble. So over to you, Sana.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Pooja. So yeah, my name is Sanafar Mohammed. I'm also a 4th year student now. I completed my placement at Gillette, which is under the parent company Procter & Gamble. So there's 2 main sort of departments. There's R&D and there's process and engineering. So R&D is the main sort of, you design the products, like the razors, but process and engineering was the department that I worked in, which is essentially where you design the machines that would make the products. So yeah, that was my placement. I had a great time.
Great, and thank you, Sana. And finally, we have Jordan, who is working at Kwanzaa. So please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm also a 4th year engineer now, and I did my placement at a company called Kwanzaa, which is a Canadian engineering firm that makes transformational engineering labs for university students from a hardware, software, and curriculum development perspective. And I'm here to answer any questions that you may have about placement, my placement, and just generally about placement.
Great. So let's get started. My first question is for the students, and we can work ourselves around, but let's start with Will. So going back to pretty much the start of the application process, so a year ago, how did you decide which companies to apply to?
It's a really good question. And I think it's kind of been covered by a lot of the guys that have done their presentations so far. But I really knew kind of the areas that I wanted to be involved in, but also had the knowledge and knowing that I might need to be flexible with that. So I knew that I wanted to be involved in sport. I'm massively passionate about it. I play sport very regularly. And so if I could combine my experience with technology and engineering with sport in a placement context, that was something that really excited me. So I really started jotting down all of the big firms that I could think of, the Adidas's, the Reeboks, all the big firms. And that began my journey really in starting to discover smaller potential opportunities which I could get involved in. So yeah, find out what you're really interested in, what excites you, and just explore all the opportunities you can that are out there.
Great. And Sana, Jordan, do you have anything to add?
Go ahead, Sana.
Go for it.
Yeah, so when I was deciding like which types of placement companies to apply to, I found that the most useful thing was actually just to speak to people who just finished their placement. I was at the placements exhibition. I was walking around looking at posters, and I remember coming across Joe Shepard's poster, and he worked at ELSE, and I had a conversation with him, and he told me about an industry that I hadn't really known very much about. And you'll always have an inclination and a field that attracts you, but I think what you should really try and spend today and the next few weeks and months doing is just trying to find out new things, companies that you hadn't heard of, and I find that was the most useful thing for me.
Sana, anything to add?
I think they covered pretty much most of it, but I would also say that there's a lot of options within Imperial outside of Dyson as well, where there's the careers fairs as well that I remember going to, and a lot of them initially off the bat I didn't feel I clicked with or didn't seem relevant to design engineering, but because this course in itself is so vast and there's so many different areas that you can work in, I think just sort of being ambitious, and if you like work with product oriented sort of those kind of projects, what kind of products around you really interested you, and just kind of pursue those companies. And you never know, even if those ones are not the ones you end up going with, your searches will kind of filter down to different other companies as well. So Google is a surprisingly good place.
No, I completely agree with that, and I think you don't know unless you try, and you should definitely make use of your network because that will get you very far. Talia, any questions for the industry professionals?
Yes. So I think that one of the interesting questions would be, what would you say is unique about design engineers? What value do you think they bring, maybe different than kind of the more traditional engineers or designers? Katie, maybe I'll start with you.
Yeah, so I mean, I find it really interesting because in my teams I have the traditional software engineers and also the business analysts and project managers and all of that kind of life cycle team. But what I found about the students, that they're so creative, they're so curious, and I absolutely love that. They bring so much passion and very different perspectives on everything. What I really loved, particularly from the 6 students this year, was they really took it back to the client experience and put client at the heart of everything, and were just so interested in speaking to our clients, our colleagues. They really just got involved, and I love that. They were so enthusiastic. So I think if you can go to a company or an organization with those things in mind and just get involved, I think you just get so much out of it.
Great, thank you. David, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, sure. So in my team, we're doing a lot of multidisciplinary work. If you start working on mobile robots, you find that you've got creativity, human interaction, software, electronics, mechanics, design, mathematical modeling. And so having people who have had some experience across those disciplines, who've probably designed something in CAD and made it, maybe made some electronics control it, and control some motors, and then write some low-level software, potentially some high-level software, and also do some ideation around lots of ideas. So we find that the design engineers have got some practice of doing that in their course, and so they fit well into the team. And they don't necessarily have to do all of that themselves during their internship. It might be that they're interacting with other people who have those skills as well. But what they then bring is the ability to communicate in the language of the electronics engineer or the software engineer and so on, so that we can get a cohesive thing going across multiple people. And in fact, we've even had Imperial students where we have an electronics and a software engineer and a design engineer all working together. And that way you can get specialism and also breadth.
Great, yeah, thank you. Warren?
Oh, let's just say it how it is. I mean, the level of their capability is extraordinarily high for starters. I mean, we had an embarrassment of riches when it came to trying to choose the 2 that were going to work with us this year. All the usual stuff of talent and passion and hunger to learn. It's so valuable to our team. to have people come in wide-eyed and hungry to understand our discipline, which is emerging, by the way. It's not a traditional design discipline. So everything's a bit in flight and being sort of created as we go. And just to be adaptable in that environment is amazing to see. But the thing that strikes me most, and this is the second year we've had placements with Imperial, is the emotional intelligence in the team that joined us as well. So obviously the kind of capabilities there, but just being able to understand nuance, read what's happening, it's been fantastic and really enjoyable to add to the team for a brief period.
Great to hear that, actually. Pooja, would you like to ask the industry?
Yeah, and I also had a really great experience, Warren, at ELS. And I have another question for our industry representatives. So in our audience, we have a lot of third-year students who are starting to look around and apply to companies. So from where you're sitting, what type of work could your placement students expect to be doing? Could we start with David?
Sure. So typically we get design engineers to design some new system and then to build a prototype of it. In the 6-month placement, you can actually get through the whole of this. So you can start from a concept that we probably want to experiment with, and then probably come up with several different designs, pick one that you want to then make, and then work with our workshop team in order to create the mechanics, then maybe write some electronics and some software and control it and test it and see if it works. And so it's a great opportunity to get involved in trying something essentially beyond the state of the art of what Ocado is doing, to try and experiment in the next thing. And your first step to trying to do this is, of course, to go to internships10x.oca.do in order to apply. So internships10x.oca.do.
Sounds great, challenging but rewarding. And Katie, what can people expect at Coots?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just real variety, to be honest. And similar to David, there is the opportunity to take something end to end all the way through from the very first design thinking workshop and ideation through to delivery. However, what I've noticed actually from our students this year was they got involved in so many different things, whether that was in the banking and lending space, reimagining whether it's the cards or as in credit cards or payments journeys, or whether it was actually working with our parent company, NatWest, to talk about the investment or financial health check journey for a much bigger set of clients. So that's 15 million clients across the UK there. They did quite a lot around the climate agenda, so creating a climate portal for sustainable services, which I found really exciting and interesting. Then also reimagining journeys such as getting a brand new client and onboarding them. So welcome to Coots, that real client experience, which was reimagined. Also considering some of the regulations and things that we have to put into it. How can we make that invisible to the client, which is quite a challenge with some of our high net worth clients. So those are the kind of things. It was really anything you think of a bank does, plus the real specialness around it that we try to have at Coots or any private bank. Yeah, so really a real variety. I think they must have worked on about 14 different projects across the 6 of them.
That sounds really exciting and very broad, which is kind of just shows the attributes of a design engineer able to apply ourselves to quite a lot of different sectors. And finally, Warren, what can placement students expect at ELS?
You're better placed to answer that one than I am, Pooja, right? But I mean, our aim is to treat everybody as if they're fully capable from the get-go, but we're really mindful as well that you just need to lower people in very gently. But as soon as we can see the capabilities there, we're ready to just let you be a part of the team like anyone else. So you're not going to sit behind the scenes at all. We work in innovation acceleration across a lot of different sectors, usually businesses needing to change. And some of that change happens from the inside. It's cultural as well as experiential. But we work right across the customer life cycle. So it's everything from research through concepting, creating strategic frameworks and measurement frameworks, to designing and creating prototypes. So really, really varied. Really, you know, it's down to timing, really, what's going on when you arrive. I mean, I think we've Imperial people work with UBS and O2, Sega, Nivea, Adidas, as well as a bunch of startups, because we work with founder-led businesses launching new propositions as well. So it's a real variety, but you know, that's why we love what we do, and it's always varied and it's always changing. And being able to apply something you see in like a healthcare context to a financial services context is a key part of how innovation takes place. So that just ready to dive in, roll up the sleeves, see what's there, and participate is how we expect everyone to behave, and no different for placement students as well. So it's a baptism of fire, but hopefully a really good, enjoyable, fast-paced one.
And I think that with every project, there was a really great team dynamic, which was great at integrating us as well.
Yeah, great. So now we heard actually the companies being very excited about the students. Can I ask the students, what was your highlight in your placement? So we can start with Sana, maybe?
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the things for me was that I was able to contribute to the actual, so the company's needs. I think that was one of the most satisfying parts of the placement, because I could see towards the end of it, so one of my projects was developing an app, and when I got to the stage of actually testing it out with groups of people, the word kind of spread that the app had developed, and being in a global company, you know, a contact from Boston started getting in touch from China. And it was really interesting to kind of just see that people actually wanted to use what I'd created, and I think that was it was satisfying, and I'm glad that I was given a project that I think that was genuinely needed in the business.
Great. Yeah, this is, I think, one of the exciting parts of doing an industry placement, isn't it? Seeing it really in the real world environment, and not just another project. Great. Jordan?
Yeah, I have to just echo exactly what Sana said. Really, the most valuable thing is being able to use the skills that you've been taught so far on the degree and implement them and make a change to a team. And as some of the people in the industry have said, we have quite a unique set of skills, and a lot of firms can really use those. We've become very useful to those types of companies, and being able to see the impact, as Sana said, people getting in touch, people who have purchased what you've created and saying, oh, I really like this feature, but maybe you could change this. It's a very different process to what you would normally experience at university, when a lot of the time you make something and you submit it and you receive a grade, but it kind of disappears once it's been submitted. You're on to the next thing. Whereas on placement, it's really nice to see that impact, to see that contribution, and especially if it's something that is lasting, that will continue to be used by the company. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, it's probably very exciting and very stressful, isn't it? I remember when I first at work, this is real now. Can't fail this one.
Yeah, but it's good stress. It's very motivational, and it makes a difference. It means you produce something that is at maybe a higher level than you would have otherwise. It's great.
Great. Will, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, for me, it was not too far from what the guys have mentioned already, but my biggest thing was I was working on sort of the design of the software and the UI of our product, so that when you're standing in your bay at the driving range, you're interacting with a screen that's telling you how far your shots are going, and you're playing games, all those sorts of things. And I was very much on the design side of it for the first sort of 4 months of my placement, and thinking, oh, I'd quite like that feature. Let me design it up, mock it up. Anyway, we went through the design and development process. But the real highlight is then seeing that being used by 150 people in a driving range, and them using what you've done, and you're just like, oh, that's really cool. Even if it's sometimes good feedback, sometimes bad feedback, actually seeing that in action is something that only what we've learned on design engineering prepares you for. So yeah, that was probably my highlight.
That's great. Yeah, I just want to remind you all, do post comments and questions. We'll be very happy to answer those if you have.
I have a question for the students again. So most companies don't advertise or offer a 6-month placement unless they've done it with us before. So how did you go about applying to places and essentially asking them to create a 6-month placement for you? Could we start with Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, that is probably, speaking to the D3 students, that is probably something that you will find is the most limiting thing, is going up to people in industry and saying, hi, I'm a design engineer, and I would like to do a placement for 6 months. And I think that is especially apt for larger companies who have a very bureaucratic internship scheme, say they do 10 weeks and they're very inflexible. So I really recommend trying to get personal with it. If you're just going to send your CV and your cover letter to an email that is careers at whatever it is, and there isn't an existing role, then you shouldn't really be surprised if you don't get a response. I mean, I remember at one point, I was getting, to be honest, a little bit frustrated with applying for some of my jobs, and I had the number and name of someone in an office of a company I wanted to apply to. And I was really set on not giving up. So I called this number 9 times in a single day, in a single afternoon. But I went through 3 stages of interviews for that same company and got to a final round interview. Unfortunately, I left the country to go to Canada for a different company. But I think that just goes to say, like, you should really be personal and really put yourself out there. You honestly have nothing to lose. I think just try and make sure that people are seeing you and seeing your initiative by really reaching out instead of just being the name on the other side of an email address.
I completely agree, and I think LinkedIn is also a really good resource to get in contact with people, and they're more willing to speak to you than you think. Will, anything to add?
Yeah, well, I mean, you've hit the nail on the head there, Pooja. That's exactly how my placement started. I was feeling a little bit delusioned that many of my placements weren't coming through from like form applications and different things like that. And I thought, what I always do is go and relieve my stress by hitting golf balls on the range, and thought, this is quite cool. I'll figure out who runs this, message the guy on LinkedIn, and I got a reply 5 minutes later saying, let's chat on Friday. So yeah, that phone call is where it started. So straight away, even though they hadn't had a design engineer before, we're able to say, look, I'm at Imperial College. Saying at the Dyson School doesn't hurt either. And there's this really exciting placement opportunity coming up. And these are all the sorts of skills that I might be able to support you with. I'm also really passionate about what you guys do. And yeah, I went from there, and I just got really engaged, and one phone call turns into another, and then you can kind of ask for what you need. So yeah.
Sounds great, like it was meant to be.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Sana?
Yeah, I think I'd echo what everyone said, is try to get personal and show that you're unique and not just one of the many candidates you're up against. And I also think that whilst getting 6 months placement is very difficult, because generally it's either summer or 1 year, I think the very fact that it's not very normal and we're not a normal degree, I think a lot of the times go out there and still ask people, even if so, generally if they've advertised a 1 year position or a 6 week position, for example, 3 months, it doesn't hurt to email them, or if you can find them on LinkedIn, if they've posted that themselves. It doesn't hurt to ask, do you offer a 6 month placement? I mean, the same thing for me, for P&G. I was their first ever 6 month placement intern, and they actually said at the end of it, they said that you're in a unique space where you don't we get to see enough of you being at 6 months, but you're not exhausted by the end of like a year-long internship, so you can still do your best in 6 months and show us what you're capable of. So they actually said that this is something we'd be more interested in continuing next year. So I would definitely say, even if a post is a year or not the duration you're looking for, I think get in touch and see. They might be willing to offer you a 6 month placement.
That's amazing, and I'm sure very good news for the year belows.
Yeah, we just have a comment that Twitter is a great tool as well to communicate with potential companies. I think it's a question that a lot of students are concerned now is the COVID-19, right? So I would like to ask the industry representatives, do you think it will be a problem? And also, what should they expect? How should the students expect to work kind of in these situations? Is it, and nobody knows what it will be, but let's assume it will be quite a while till we get a solution. So maybe, yeah, David, do you want to start?
Sure, yes. Well, COVID-19 did struck just at the beginning, in fact, in March, didn't it? Just before these placements were about to start. And unfortunately, we had to delay the start of the placements while we tried to work out how on earth we were going to handle it. And so what we did in the end was we found a safe and secure way of working by reducing the number of people that we would allow into our workshop. So this workshop, which would normally take maybe 20 or so people in it, we decided to reduce down to about 10 or 11 people, and then further reduced it, in fact, down to 6 people, because we had a cleaner who unfortunately got tested positive, and then all the 10 had to go home for 2 weeks. So we decided, well, next time we'll try it with 6 people, and that's worked out. And so, in fact, Max Hunt, from now going into the 4th year, spent some time in our workshop. And then Elvis Lee, who was also with us, decided to spend most of the time at home. And so we shipped out to him a 3D printer and some design software and a laptop. And so that way he could design things from home. And in fact, the electronics engineer we had from Imperial could then build the electronics in the workshop. And we could even send stuff back to Elvis to play with in terms of mechanical prototypes or electronic prototypes. And so basically by doing a mix of home working and workshop working and being super flexible and using Ocado technology minibuses to transfer stuff from one place to another, we've managed to work out a way of working that's both safe, secure, and reasonably productive in terms of going forward. And we're using the same with our team. So in fact, actually behind me is the 3D printer as part of our distributed 3D printer farm for making lots of prototypes. And so if you fancy that, there's another internet site, jobs10x.oca.do, that you can try if you're a 4th year and you need a job distributed, working from home, working from the office with your 3D printers and kits and making stuff.
Great flexibility, well done. Warren, how about ELSE? How is ELSE working these days?
Oh, well, fine, actually. I mean, we're pretty progressive with the way we work anyhow. We've been on a 4-day week for a couple of years. We've been looking at remote working for a little while. This has just accelerated something that we feel was broadly inevitable. Everyone crashing onto a train and piling into the city was absurd, wasn't it? And we won't ever return back to that. However, the studio plays a really important role in people coming together, the sharing of ideas, the nurturing of capability. So I think that the balance is going to flip from working at home being an exception to actually being the norm, and working in the office, so to speak, is going to be more purposeful and intentional. But I think, with regards to sort of the top of the question, is it going to be difficult? I think, well, yes, it is, because a hell of a lot of industries are suffering, but at the same time, there's opportunity. I think there's opportunity because, one, I tend to try and be a bit optimistic about these things anyway, but I think lots of employers will be looking for creative ways to bring talent into their teams. Provided they've got the right setup, and you can learn something from the place you go. I think there's this possibility that more doors might open for people who are graduating. More doors might open for placements, because it's a creative way to add a bit of talent and capacity to your team. It's a win-win. You both get something out of it. Same with apprenticeships and other forms of employment and access to our industry. I think it's going to have a positive effect on all of those things, really. So, looking forward, there's a lot to take back to normality, whatever that is and whenever that comes. But I think we should stop acting like we're on pause. This is how it is. So be intentional and purposeful with it, and just focus on spotting the opportunities that do exist. They do exist.
Yeah, well said. Katie, how is and what do you predict will happen here?
So yeah, I 100% agree with Warren. That's where we have found ourselves, that this is the new norm, and I hate that phrase passionately, but it is here to stay. We also took the hard decision quite early on, mid-March, to send our entire colleague base back home just to keep them safe and to really keep them safe, their families safe. And it was really just to make sure that if there were people who had to be in the office for whatever reason, were protected as much as we could, whether those were the traders or the call centers or whatever, just as we got the kit home. Today, we still have 50,000 colleagues at home, which is across the RBS NatWest group. And whilst I know certain offices are opening up for different reasons and branches, I do see this very much as the new normal. How did that impact our Imperial students? We did delay by a few weeks, just as we got ourselves sorted and established. But to be honest, I think they had potentially, it was a different experience, but potentially a better experience, because they were able to then speak to people more across all the different locations, different, a lot of my development team are over in Zurich, so they would be talking to them all day, every day. Same with, different private bankers or clients. There's almost immediate access if you're always on Zoom, that you're actually able to get into the home of more people. And actually, I think it opened up more doors than it closed. So I do think there's some benefits for it. I would say that the students were so adaptable and really just were very open-minded when it came to, as I said, asking for meetings, doing workshops. They actually led design thinking teach-in sessions with many across the whole of the services organization. So across 800 people, they put out some sessions saying, if you want to come and try it for a small session, and they were oversubscribed. So I think it was really quite an exciting time, and I think they really adapted to it. So I wouldn't be put off at all. As the industry, we are not put off at all. We will be absolutely asking for another 6 students next year. So I'm very positive about it all, to be honest.
Okay, yeah, great to know that. And definitely there are advantages, aren't they? That you can really, like we also as academy, as staff, we can join a lot of events that we couldn't before. And there is less travel and it makes things more easy. But still, right, we're missing a bit kind of more one-to-one connections and meeting people in the coffee. And I think we still, as maybe design engineers, need to find solutions for that, or better solutions for
that. So I have a question for the students. So many students say that before their placement, they felt quite insecure and not really sure of what they could contribute to a company. But then after returning, they felt that they had a lot to contribute. Did you feel the same? Sorry, I keep forgetting. So Will, do you want to start?
Yeah, of course. I didn't feel insecure. I feel like we've got a lot of great skills, and that's just echoed by all of the brilliant projects, not that I did, but that you see at the showcases and everything that design engineering produced. I guess you might have been potentially insecure about how you might be able to apply those skills in a company context where it's quite unfamiliar, you don't know what their processes are and all those sorts of different things. But I guess you have to go in and be agile, you have to be flexible, you have to be willing to learn about how that company runs itself and try and learn as much as you can early on. I certainly got involved and tried to meet as many people as I could. I worked quite closely with a designer out in New Zealand, and she quickly thought, oh, who's this guy? He suddenly can do all of the things that was my responsibility, whilst I was also wanting to jump in and learn about the Unity guys and how they were selling stuff. And I guess go in with an open mind, but be aware that just fit in. Like don't be insecure, because you definitely got the skills to really help out companies and really respect and value how valuable you are.
I agree with that. I think your confidence takes you a long way. Jordan, anything to add?
I think a lot of people probably go into it because they feel like it's a lot of their own personal responsibility, which to an extent it is. And as Will said, it's important to just throw yourself in the deep end, ask questions, try whatever you can. But I also feel like if you've gotten to the point where a company, and maybe some of the people in the industry will disagree, but if you've gotten to the point where a company is willing to offer you a role, there is also some responsibility on them to, ask you or what sorts of things you're interested in and kind of give you a bit of direction, because they've taken you on knowing that you have the necessary skills. So I wouldn't be insecure or worried that you won't be able to perform in that work environment. You're obviously qualified, and if you just pick up whatever you can, I found that, for example, when I was working, that we worked off an agile scrum board, so there were always tasks on the board and you could pick up anything you wanted to. And just don't be afraid to, when you read the title for some role, I haven't done that before, or maybe I can't do that. Just pick up whatever you can. Someone will guide you through it, someone will help you, and then you might become an expert on that, and then you'll do the next thing. Just if you go into it with a closed mind, then you probably won't experience it to the same extent as you would if you just went into it thinking, I know I'm qualified because I've gone through the qualification stage. Now just give me what you've got.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Sana?
Yeah, I think along those lines as well. I think one of the things that I would say maybe I think I was a bit worried about at the start was I'm going into a work environment where people just know so much more than I would know, and they know a lot more about things I'm completely unfamiliar about. And that's kind of the difference between university and work. The environment is very different. The colleagues are very different. And just there's sort of you have your own responsibility for yourself. They kind of treat you like an adult, but at the same time, you don't have to worry because they know that you're an intern, and so you can always. I felt like that helped me. I mean, I was lucky to have amazing project managers that kind of reminded me of that when I would freak out in group conversations with people, and I was presenting projects and I didn't know how to answer questions, and they were like, "You're an intern. We're asking you to help you. We're not asking you to test you." It's not like university. It's kind of to help you progress. So I think that definitely helped me. And I haven't really put myself out there in terms of networking in the past, but I feel like in this particular case, a bit like what Jordan and Will said, is you put yourself out there. There's no harm. And even if it's not something you naturally tend to do, this is sort of a learning phase for you to just try things out and see what you can make of it, because it's an internship. It's not your final job, and if you enjoy it, that's great. If a big company is what you love, it's being surrounded by lots of people, that's great. If it's not for you, well, at least you tried it and you know to move to something a bit smaller. So it's kind of I'd say just kind of throw yourself out there, see what you can do, and you never know what will come of it.
Yeah, you do sometimes forget that this is meant to be a development opportunity and you're not meant to know all the answers straight away.
Exactly.
I would like to ask actually the students if there is something you would have changed in the process of applying to a placement. Like something you have learned along the way and say, wow, I should have done it differently.
I think just one quick thing that I could definitely say is don't dwell too much on almost inconsequential details in your portfolio or your CV or a cover letter. Those things are important, but all of those things are just the start to applying to jobs. I remember thinking that, I spent some time over the summer making sure that my portfolio was in a good state, and then I came back to uni and I didn't want to apply anywhere because I thought, it's not done yet, I've had this feedback, so on and so forth. But I think just get to a point where you're happy, you have the necessary requirements to apply to a job, but then just go, start applying, start reaching out to people. Because, if you keep thinking about which font your title on your CV should be, then you're not going to get very far. And I found in the end, those aren't the things that really make a difference. The things that make a difference are, reaching out to people and getting your name out there, and instead of, a random font size on your portfolio or something.
Sana, Will, would you like to add something or?
Yeah.
Jordan's mentioned a lot of great things there. If I was to say doing anything differently, it would probably be to chat more about what was happening at the time. This getting a placement process can potentially feel a bit daunting and a bit lonely. You might feel like you're only able to manage it yourself. But chat to your friends, chat to your family, chat to whoever, to say, oh, I applied to this company, I didn't get it, and learn from that, and they might just point you in the direction of a new opportunity. So yeah, if I was to go back in time when I was kind of feeling a bit, oh, this isn't going to plan, just earlier on speaking to more people, that might have been good advice. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think just a tiny thing to add to that as well is don't be afraid to sort of, when you're at an interview, if they tend to ask, okay, so you kind of know a lot about us, what part of it are you particularly interested in? And I remember at the time when I was asked this by a couple of interviewers, I tend to say, well, I don't mind, I'm flexible, my degree allows me to be flexible, etc. Whereas in my mind, I kind of knew a specific space that I was interested in, but I didn't want them to say, oh, well, there's no position open for this. But actually, they ask it because they want to give you an opportunity that suits you and that you're interested in. So before you go to an interview, I think definitely don't be afraid to kind of identify the areas that you enjoy, or even during it, if they've explained it to you. I think definitely go ahead and say, well, I'm interested in this, but I wouldn't mind being flexible and doing other things. But I think it works more to your benefit than to anything else that they're asking that question.
Yeah, brilliant advice.
So we have one question from the audience, and this comes from Kabir. Is it a big disadvantage if we don't already have much experience in industry? Does anyone in particular want to comment on this?
I don't mind stepping in. So yeah, it's definitely not a disadvantage, and nobody expects you to come into the industry knowing it inside out. I think just think of it from a consumer perspective. And so if it's shopping and Ocado, then yeah, how was your experience just as a consumer of that? If it's banking, how do you feel when you're on the call center and you can't get through to a human, or you're not being serviced properly when you look at the website or the mobile app or something like that? So I would say absolutely not a disadvantage. Just think of it as you do with your creativity and your ideation and as a consumer.
And I saw Warren had his hand up as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think we're all operating with a bit of imposter syndrome, and especially when you're working on things that are new and emerging. We've just got more patterns behind us to draw from. So it's not a disadvantage at all. When you're working on things that are emerging, you have to apply what you know. How do you upskill? That's the stuff it's just a bit of muscle memory. In actual fact, I would say, let's go back to one of the questions earlier on about what do you bring to the team. A lot of people who have been working a little while have unlearned a lot of things that you get to see again when you work with folks like yourself. So it's actually really brings something to the team when you just see somebody go, oh, I don't know about this space. I'm going to put all this stuff together. I'm going to make something. I'm going to ask questions. It's revitalizing. So you might have a bigger back history of things to draw from, but we're all in the same state all the time, working in things that we haven't done before. Sometimes. So it's not a disadvantage whatsoever.
Yeah, so I absolutely agree with that. So having somebody fresh in who's not seen it with an existing pair of eyes who's been around for a while can be really helpful, because it enables you to look at things and ask the naive questions, or the questions that are never asked anymore, because there's too many assumptions around. Right. And so it's absolutely not a disadvantage if you haven't got industrial experience before. It's good to have the consumer experience. And it's also good to bring forward any experience you've had in making things and hobbies, particularly if you've done this outside Imperial, or if you've been making things since you were 4, your first Lego prototypes, and maybe you added some electronics, and then maybe later you had a 3D printer, or you created some variations of the Lego. And then maybe you even added a camera and a little dabble into computer vision so that you could recognize some objects. So what is it that you've done in your life at home as a hobby, essentially, that makes you special and different, and exciting? That's kind of what we're looking for.
I'm really glad that you brought in hobbies and people like having an interest in what they do, because it's only when you really love your job that you will do well in it. So now, unfortunately, we're coming to the end of the panel, but just to wrap up, could everyone just give one tip for our student listeners who are looking for placements? And maybe we can start with Sana.
Ooh, threw you on the spot there. I would say reach out to your connections. Your connections they might not be work connections because you haven't got to that stage yet. But anyone that you know that your parents, friends, working in industries that you're interested in, they might know other people, even if what they're doing might not particularly interest you. So start by talking to them, and they might even suggest other companies that you can apply to that they know about that might have opportunities. So yeah, just start those conversations and they'll be fruitful, hopefully.
Great. And Will?
I think my tip would be get excited about it. This is actually like a really exciting opportunity as opposed to potentially a daunting one. You can just go through all of the placement stories from on the exhibition website and just read about everyone's story. You've only heard 10 or 15 here, but there are 60 there plus, and everyone's had a different experience and everyone's had I think a great time at some point. So definitely read about it and get excited about the next period because it's an awesome opportunity to do this as part of our degree.
Great, thanks. And Jordan?
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with what Sana said. Speak to people, with what Will said, get excited. And kind of on a similar note to what Will said is, I remember that applying for jobs is hard, but I really don't think that anyone should be discouraged or take it personally at any phase if they're finding it difficult, because I think it is like psychologically equally as tough a process as it is in terms of the amount of work that you have to put in. And sometimes, it's hard to see your friends say, oh, I got accepted, I got an offer to this company and X, Y, Z, and you think, what am I doing wrong? But I think you can see from what we've said and from what our cohort had to go through is that it always works out and it always will. It might not be your dream job opportunity, but it will definitely be a valuable experience. And I just think that you should always keep that in the back of your head because it's easy to lose sight of, but just stay confident, stay excited, because it all works out for the best.
Yeah, I agree. Katie?
I just say, just try something new. Just be really open-minded, and you never know whether you're going to love and hate it. And I think the great thing about this placement is, as you said, it's not forever. It's not something you've signed up as a career. So it's a really great test bed to just try it and get involved, learn something new, meet some new people, and just see where it takes you. That's what I'd say.
And David?
Okay, well, your first step is, of course, to go here, internships10x.ota.do. That's a good routine, I'd say.
If you're here for the chat later, I'm sure people can get the email down as well. And Warren?
Oh, I was just reflecting on the fact I've only had 2 interviews in about 25 years. That's mostly down to the fact that this is a people business. Be nice, do good work. To cut through, you've got to bring 2 things at every interaction you have with a company. Bring your passion, bring your talent. When you're having an interview, just be excited about your work. And it's a dry run for what it's like to have you as part of the team. Just do your homework on the company you're talking to as well. If you can find a company that does what you love and they've got room for your talent, great things are going to happen. The only other thing I'd add is the secret at the end of every interview is, have you got any questions for us? Don't say no, it's all covered.
Well said. So thank you so much to everyone on our panel for joining us. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I'm sure this has been really helpful for a lot of our listeners.
Yes, thank you a lot. Thank you very much for the panel, and thank you for the audience. I know we have a lot of companies here today, so thank you for tuning in, and do join us. We have now an informal chat with students and companies on Teams, and yes, we're just in time, so it's very good tips to end the placements event. So thank you very much to all. And
Thank you.
thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye.